Hello everyone, Derek Johnson with Tatango.com. We're here at Mobile World Congress 2019 in LA with my good friend William Bill Dudley. How you been?
Hey Derek, how's it going?
Good man, good. I'm excited for this interview.
Oh, looking forward to it.
You've been in mobile messaging, I'm not going to say forever, but more than most people I know. How many years has it been?
Oh my God, it's been since 2001, so we're starting to push 20 years soon.
Wow, that is crazy. And so your title is the Head of Mobile Innovations and Evangelism at SAP Digital Interconnect. How do you get a job like that? I know you've gone through a ton of companies to get to there. Maybe walk us through your history.
Okay, so I came to what is now known as SAP Digital Interconnect back in 2001. There was a startup called InfoMatch in those days, just starting out in mobile messaging. Prior to that, I was with a company called CMG. CMG sold SMSCs to mobile operators.
Okay.
That was their main business. CMG was part of a consultancy company based in the Netherlands. And one of the things we did there, and I was very proud to be a part of, was we came up with one of the very first messaging hubs in the world.
And explain what a messaging hub is.
Okay, so in the old days, especially in the US, you could not send a text message between operators.
Between AT&T, T-Mobile?
Right. So I got the bright idea, let's build a hub so that we could take traffic from, let's say, Verizon and send it to AT&T.
Yeah.
In those days, they were called Singular.
Okay.
Right? Remember Singular?
Yeah.
Okay. So we did that. We built that as a kind of a spin-off of our SMSCs using the protocol called SMPP. We called it a SMPP router. In those days, it was called the ISR, the Inter-SMSC router.
Okay.
So I had designed that based on our SMSC products, and we built that. And we actually won a contract in Canada to connect all of the 4 operators at that time.
In Canada?
In Canada.
Okay.
In 2001. So that was
2001. So before 2001, you couldn't message. If you had AT&T, you could only message people on AT&T.
Correct.
You guys built a thing that sat in the middle of all the carriers.
Yes.
So that it could all bounce. So the first one was Canada.
Right.
Okay.
That was the first commercial implementation of a messaging hub.
That's crazy.
And P2P, person-to-person messaging hub. So we built that at CMG. Well, that kind of became the norm. Everybody else said, oh, we got to build this too. Well, this little company called InfoMatch started building that later that year. And lo and behold, a few years later, I was made the proverbial offer I couldn't refuse.
Yep.
So I came to work at InfoMatch.
Okay.
And InfoMatch went along, and in 2004, we merged with a French company called MobileWay.
Okay.
Now, MobileWay had also started doing a lot of mobile messaging and things like that. And that created the brand called Mobile 365.
And I remember Mobile 360. What year was that?
It started in 2004.
Okay.
And it went along to about 2007 when Sybase became interested in us. Now, remember, Sybase was a big database company back in those days. So Sybase acquired Mobile 365 and rebranded it as Sybase 365, which a lot of people in the messaging industry have heard of as well. And we went along as a very well-known and visible entity of Sybase until 2010 when Sybase itself was acquired by SAP.
Okay.
And then we again rebranded as SAP Mobile Services, and a few years later we changed our branding to SAP Digital Interconnect to reflect more of the global digitalization, really, of industries and enterprises, things like that. It just was more than, because by this time, we're more than just P2P interoperability between carriers. Now we're probably one of the biggest interoperability providers for text messaging in the world.
Interesting. So SAP still sits in between all the carriers and kind of routes all the messaging.
Yes, especially internationally, somewhat in the U.S. as well, but of course internationally. We can reach virtually every mobile network in the world and a lot of OTT networks, things like that. As part of this, we also provide enterprise engagement. In other words, allowing brands, businesses, enterprises to engage their consumers through mobile messaging channels.
Okay.
You could call us a messaging aggregator, and we're very large in that vein as well. So back to your original question, how do I get a title as I do?
Yeah.
So,
and what is that? And what do you do even now?
what do I do? Well, head of innovations, I look at what's coming next. What are the new things that's going on in the market? All through my career, I've been in product management. So it's another way of saying I'm a product manager.
Okay.
Evangelism, as you know, I write a lot of blogs and articles. I'm published quite a bit. I do a lot of speaking roles. So there's the evangelism side of things. I've kind of led our company in doing that, and I continue to do that kind of thing.
You have a good LinkedIn presence. I see all your articles on there.
Yeah, thank you.
You've been doing a good job.
Thank you.
What, though, how big is, I know SAP is a massive company.
We are, yes.
The component that you kind of, the product, is there any kind of thing you can disclose, like how big, like how many people work on this?
Right. SAP Digital Interconnect is a kind of an independent business unit within SAP itself.
Okay.
We have our own sales, our own marketing, our own software development, product, but we share some other common functions with SAP, the parent company SAP. And of course, we are able to leverage all of the assets of SAP, you know, the databases, the other divisions. We, of course, provide messaging channels for all of the other, many of the other divisions of SAP, whether it's things like Hybris, SuccessFactors, which is our cloud-based HR platform, Hybris marketing platform. We've integrated some of our authentication into SAP IaaS, which is an SSO-based solution. So we have a lot of our products integrated in other business units within SAP, of course.
Because it's just such a massive company.
It is a massive company.
Do you know how many people work at SAP total?
We're closing in on 100,000 employees.
Okay, that's a lot.
SAP Digital Interconnect, we're a little bit north of 300 people.
Okay.
And we're a significant revenue source. And profit source of SAP as well.
So do you think most maybe consumers that are watching this video, their messages could be going through SAP?
Very likely they are. Very likely they are.
But they never know.
Typically, no. No. Well, they will deal with a brand or an enterprise. And when they receive messages from those brands or enterprises, sometimes it's a big bank, it might be a social network where you get a message or two. That will go through us. Now, of course, if they send person-to-person messages across carriers, sometimes they don't even know that. It goes through our infrastructure.
That's really cool.
It happens all in milliseconds, so no one ever really knows for sure.
Yeah, it's almost you don't want them to know.
No, you don't.
Something's broken if they know.
No, you're right. You're right.
Interesting. So evangelism, how long have you been at SAP doing the evangelism?
Oh, since really I started.
Okay.
I mean, I started at Infomatch writing articles, and started a blog during the Sybase days. And that blog has been going for at least 10 years.
That's great.
And it's been well read, and so I've spoken about the industry either through writing or actually speaking for at least 10 years, probably more like 12 or 13 years now.
Was there anything you evangelized that maybe you wish you could have pulled that blog post down a few years later because you got it completely wrong, or something that you wish would have happened? For me personally, it was QR codes. I still think they're huge. And it seems like a little uptick lately, but...
Well, we're going to talk a little more about RCS. RCS is on its second iteration. The first iteration failed miserably. It started out in 2008, 2009, kind of ran along to about 2012. I thought then, this is the way to go. This is the next generation of messaging. It's going to take over SMS and MMS. And by this time, by 2019, late 2019, it would be the rage. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. I became somewhat of an RCS skeptic from about 2012 till about 2017, late 2016, maybe somewhere along in there. That's when Google got involved. And Universal Profile came to fruition, and we realized, okay, we've got a ecosystem that is not as fragmented, not as badly defined. No offense to anybody that has been defining RCS, especially in those early days, but it was too fragmented. But now we have universal profile. Everybody's working on that. I believe that this iteration of RCS, especially focused on the enterprise, especially focused on A2P, will be the channel that will become the predominant consumer engagement messaging channel for the 2020s and beyond.
And you think that really, it was the Google kind of getting involved, the resources being put behind it?
That was one of the catalysts. Google was a huge catalyst. Now, there's other players, obviously, like Samsung and Mavenir that are doing good work.
But Google really...
But Google became that catalyst.
Yeah.
And, of course, they own Android Messages, which is one of the predominant RCS messaging clients for Android devices.
Back maybe when you started at SAP, was there anything that you kept saying that no one believed you and it became true?
Yes.
Like what do you call right? We only have an hour, but...
Sure, okay. Several things. In the early days, I said SMS is going to change the world.
Okay. This was pre-everything?
This was pre-everything.
Okay.
This was even before I joined InfoMatch and maybe when I was at CMG. I said, I want to see us be able to text any number we can call. That was kind of my mantra.
Okay.
We should be able to text any number you can call.
What did you think?
And you couldn't do that in those days,
What do you think the use case? Was it for pick up the milk or was it your bank would text you? What did you think?
In those days, I just wanted persons to be able to text anybody else. Okay. That came to fruition in 2006, 7, 8 is when SMS started growing. And I said it was going to become the most predominant nonverbal communications channel in the history of mankind, and it has.
Did people think you were crazy, though?
A little bit, but we were right. We were right.
Yeah.
Definitely right about that.
Interesting. Because I've grown up with text messaging, and it seems so natural, but there was a time when it wasn't there.
No, it wasn't. I mean, you can't imagine now a day when we didn't have texting.
Yeah, we're texting.
I know.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So fast forward, RCS, it seems like you've kind of gone on a roller coaster with RCS.
We have.
Okay.
We have. This industry has gone on a roller coaster.
But your feelings of RCS too, were you bullish on it at the very beginning? And then
I was bullish on it at the beginning. I became a little disenfranchised with it. It didn't work.
The first iteration.
The first iteration, right. It didn't work. There are still people in the industry today that are completely negative on RCS.
I've seen that a few times on LinkedIn.
You have to be careful with it because it's not where it needs to be today either. But we have the momentum. Yeah. And I say we, this industry has the momentum. Brands and enterprises, when you show them RCS, what you can do with it, they're blown away. They love it. They love it.
Do you think we can still screw it up, though? The industry?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's fragile. That's what
it is. A little fragile, but we need the mobile operators, the carriers, to endorse it, to build it into their ecosystems, and to get it launched as soon as possible. I think we have probably a 2 or 3 year window that we're about a third of the way through already that we need to do. Otherwise, it's going to be superseded by non-standard based messaging like WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger. But the problem with those two is they are Facebook owned, and Facebook has some trust issues in the marketplace these days. And I think they're going to continue to have some issues. Not that there's anything wrong with those. There's some markets where I think WhatsApp will do very well as an enterprise channel, but it in itself has some limitations that something like RCS or even SMS doesn't have.
That's interesting. You deal, or SAP deals with some of the largest companies in the world. What are you hearing nowadays behind the closed doors from the brands about mobile messaging, about what their needs are, why RCS might fulfill those needs? What are you hearing from the big brands?
Okay, some of the big brands are becoming tired of mobile apps.
Okay, we've heard that a few times today.
That, right? So mobile apps are, everybody has a mobile app.
And insight into why. Why are they getting tired of it?
They're expensive.
Okay.
They're difficult to maintain. People will download them. They'll use them for 3 or 4 times, and then they may be abandoned. Or they may shut off notifications because everybody has all these little numbers and notifications alerts on their phones, that you can get overwhelmed with those. So you don't pay attention as much to that. You can move a lot of that content into the messaging client as just a entry in there, a brand or an enterprise entry into your messaging client. And then you can deal with those brands and industries through the messaging app. RCS enables you to do a lot of that. You can, of course, push rich content to your consumers. You can give them actionable options. They can move into a conversation. Usually, this is where you hear about conversational engagement, things like that, through bots or even through live persons if you're doing a customer service thing. So it just moves things into a different channel, a channel that's more, to put it simply, it's easier to maintain by consumers.
Yeah, it is true. We've heard that a few times in these interviews, is that, maintaining the app, and then the fact that there's so many apps out there.
Sure.
It is kind of confusing.
Right.
Do you think RCS or chatbots could replace apps?
In many cases, yes. Not in all cases. Apps are here to stay. Don't get me wrong. But there are areas where I think a bot-based campaign or engagement could really do the industry a service and just totally replace apps. But not all apps, obviously.
Yeah. That'll be super interesting.
Oh, I think so. And brands are already looking at this.
Yep.
Businesses. And I use the word brand, business, enterprise. It's all the same.
Yep.
But even the big industries use that. I mean, they have a web presence. They have maybe an SMS presence that they use for alerts and notifications. They have an app. That's a lot of investment for a business. Yep. Big and small.
Mobile messaging. So from the brands, they are kind of getting tired. It's interesting. We've heard the exact same word. They're getting tired of mobile apps. Are they excited about mobile messaging? Are they currently using mobile messaging? What else are you hearing from the brands?
Right. Most are using mobile messaging today. They're using SMS today. But there's so much more when you explain to them what you can do with RCS, how you can do it. They become excited. They become a lot more excited.
So it's like a new, fresh thing.
It's a new, fresh thing,
but
yes.
It's still its old thing that works, and you don't need to, it doesn't cost a ton to maintain.
I mean, today we have customers that we offer not only SMS and MMS, but we also offer some of the what we call social chat apps, WhatsApp and WeChat.
So omni-channel.
Omni-channel, absolutely. So we offer a lot of that, and some of them are interested in multiple channels because that's what their consumers use. You want to reach your consumers through the channel they use. If they're heavy WhatsApp users, then let's reach them through that, right? As RCS comes to fruition, and I've been to a RCS workshop just across the street, and I'm hearing great things about the number of monthly active users, how that's going to grow, especially into the next year and the year after. I think we're going to get to a point where there are going to be more users accessible through RCS than there are any other messaging channel out there, including WhatsApp.
That's going to be really interesting. So the RCS lab is next door. You were there for a little bit. You saw Nick Lane's presentation. 100 million users in the United States on RCS. No Apple, though.
Not yet.
Not yet. He doesn't believe it's going to happen on an A2P side.
Not yet. Now, Apple has something called Apple Business Chat. I've used it a couple of times as a consumer. It works very well. It's very seamless.
It is smooth,
It's very smooth. But with that, you cannot reach the Apple user in the same manner that you can with RCS. Apple will be ultimately under some pressure from big brands, notwithstanding all of their operator partners, to support RCS in their messaging client at some point. I believe that may happen. Now, there's rumors going around that the 5G standards will specify that you should support RCS.
We've heard that, if you want to use the brand.
Right, if you're going to be 5G, then you need to support RCS. I'm hoping that's the case because I would love it for Apple to support RCS natively.
Yeah, because is it true that standardization in the mobile ecosystem is, when things really take off.
Yes, and let's look at Apple again from a historical perspective. When the iPhone first came out, the iPhone did not support MMS
Correct.
until the 3GS version, which was the third iteration of the iPhone. That was the first one to support MMS, native MMS. And it was an issue.
Yeah.
It was certainly an issue because
I do
MMS...
kind of remember that, yeah.
MMS was just starting to really come to fruition
Popular,
in 2005 through 7 or 8, but it wasn't supported on the iPhone.
Because that was pre-iMessage.
That was pre, yes.
So they were kind of running on the SMS channel.
Yes. Well, iMessage actually predated MMS support on iPhones.
Okay. Yeah. Man, there's so many different iterations
Absolutely,
of everything.
absolutely.
What do you think brands right now, the big mega brands, are getting wrong about mobile messaging?
Not using it as much as they should.
Okay.
RCS aside, just being able to reach people through SMS, using it more to reach. Just if nothing, go to our web presence and see this or that or things like that.
Yeah.
A good business uses SMS as part of their overall strategy, not as an add-on, but as part of their overall digital strategy. I think it's a key component to be part of that.
So you would think most brands right now are still kind of looking at SMS or messaging as kind of like a little component over there rather than an integrated.
Yes, it absolutely needs to be an integrated, and not all brands are that way. Many view messaging as one of their top tier outreach channels.
That's awesome for everybody.
It is. It is.
What's one thing that people nowadays disagree with you on that you're evangelizing, saying, thinking, writing about? I know you write a lot, and there's people that disagree very loudly on LinkedIn.
Right.
What are some of those things that you believe? I heard you were talking about identity. That was something a lot of people were kind of, they said was controversial.
One of the things that's a little controversial today is sender identity.
Okay.
We need to validate who's sending the message. In SMS today, obviously, we have some issues with spam and phishing attacks coming from spoofed numbers or numbers that are not recognized.
Yep.
Let's take the United States, for example. Recently, 10-digit long codes became sanctioned as a sender ID for enterprise or A2P traffic. Now, we've had a lot of unsanctioned long code A2P traffic for many years, and a lot of it got through and got delivered. Some of it was spam. And companies like us have a lot of visibility to that because we block a lot of that spam.
Yeah, because you're sitting in the middle.
We're sitting in the middle,
Okay.
and that's one of our jobs is to sort of police the overall spam and the overall messaging traffic.
Because for a lot of wireless carriers, you guys are the entry point
Absolutely.
for a business to send
Absolutely.
in. Okay.
Absolutely. So you can't tell in the SMS world who's sending you that message, especially if they're using long codes.
So right now the message comes into an SAP type company, a hub,
Right.
and you guys know the phone number and the content of the message.
Right. And we typically also know
Who it's coming
from.
Like a server rather than...
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll know a little bit more. We may know it from another aggregator or even a particular business identifier. Now, a lot of those businesses are big API providers. They provide APIs to developers to send SMS. So even through those, we can get some spammers. And outside the U.S. especially, you have traffic coming from all over the world using sometimes what are called SIM farms, where people just buy thousands of SIMs and they rotate messages through those. They can be phishing messages, they can be spam messages. There's a lot of ways of doing it. It's a very low cost way of sending messages. It's not approved.
Yeah.
It gets blocked a lot. But the problem is, going back to that, we don't know who those people are. So there are various programs going on. You've talked a lot about in many of your videos the 10DLC issues and what's going on with those. And that's an attempt for the carriers, especially or specifically in the U.S., to start police that a little bit more to try to get a handle on who's sending what. We also, of course, have short codes. Many of the short codes are vanity short codes that can spell out something. That's all well and good. Then you've got toll-free messaging. A lot of people use vanity toll-free so you can identify senders there. But that's an issue. Sender identification. I know I'm working with the MEF on some work that's going to look at how can we get a better handle globally on identifying senders. Now, that also spills over into RCS, because with RCS, the sender's not a phone number or a short code, it's the name of a business. Now, if you have a big global brand name, you want to use that, you want that to be approved, anyone else sending it would be denied to even send that traffic.
It's kind of like a verified Twitter account or something.
Yes, or think of it in terms of a domain name. We all buy domain names. There's a whole hierarchical structure on validating and domain names. Well, the same thing is going to happen and needs to happen with RCS. I think ultimately there'll be some kind of federated solution where everybody uses the same, I want to use the word protocol a little incorrectly, but the same set of standards to validate a business, and then there'll still be different identifiers, if you will, or authoritative sources that you can identify with.
Just like domains.
Just like domains, right.
So let's say, the identity stuff, you have a magic wand, you can wave it over the industry and kind of fix stuff. How do you fix kind of the text messaging spam issues? Is there a registry? Is it controlled by one person? Where do you think this, in 5 years, where is this going? Or also, what way do you want it to go?
I think ultimately we're going to have a registry of names or sender IDs.
So this would be like
it will start with RCS, maybe ICANN.
Yes. But like similar to domain.
Absolutely similar. It'll start with RCS, but I think it will, in at least some markets, will extend to SMS. Maybe different registrars or providers. But it will have to extend to SMS. Because one of the cool things about RCS, if this device is not RCS compatible, you can fall back to SMS.
Correct. So you still want the identification.
You still want to have that identification. Maybe you fall back to SMS with a short code that still represents that business.
So you think, should it be one registry? Like, what would be the best case scenario, especially you guys being kind of managing all of these, hubs and everything? Is it one or multiple?
When I say federated, I think there'll be a certain method that we all use, but there'll be different registrars or different registries for different markets. Or maybe an operator group, or the U.S. might have some. The CTIA runs the short code registry today. That works very well. In the future, they might run an RCS registry that's very similar to that. And all of us in the aggregation space, when we're dealing with businesses, we will make sure we register our business name with that registry. And that's got to be easy. It's got to be done very quickly. It's got to be done literally within hours or minutes rather than days or weeks.
And essentially, that will then help hubs and carriers to kind of filter out the traffic into what I've been told is like different kind of pipes. And then monitor those pipes differently based on how trusted they are.
Absolutely. We would have to do that. Now, I would hope that would also extend to SMS going forward.
Makes sense.
In the next 5 years, will we see that? Yes, I think we'll see some registrars and some registries. They will be probably based on some of the companies that are already doing things like with number portability or big trade organizations like GSMA, CTIA, MEF will all be involved.
It's kind of like they're already doing components
They are. I think within the next 5 years, we'll have something where we can put all this together.
That'll be good. So next 5 years.
Next 5 years.
But there is still the chance, and we've heard this, is we as an industry can still screw this up. It's not a given that this RCS stuff is going to happen. It still needs to be handheld, and we need to focus on it. I think some people in the industry think it's either dead or it's a foregone conclusion. It's going to work.
By the end of this year, we'll have, or next year rather, let's go to the end of 2020. I'm hearing somewhere close to 200 mobile operators will be supporting RCS. Now, that's probably all of the big operator groups, whether you're Vodafone or Orange or some of the other ones, the T-Mobiles of the world, Deutsche Telecoms.
Yep.
They will all well support RCS. China is already well on its way. Japan and Korea are both what we call gold countries. 100% of the operators now supporting RCS.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we'll have GSMA says, or actually it's Mobile Square that says by the end of next year we'll have close to 40 gold countries.
Just the whole country.
Just the whole countries, yes. And then everybody else are smaller markets, developing regions, things like that, but they will come on ultimately as well.
They'll follow the big guys.
They will, yes, they will follow the big guys.
Because of pressure, essentially.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just like hopefully Apple will follow,
absolutely
the other guys.
Absolutely. We're hoping.
Yeah.
We're hoping that.
That makes sense. You do a lot of, international business. What's different between international messaging and the United States market?
Well, the United States market is one of the more unique markets in the world. It is probably one of the biggest SMS markets still for P2P, because in this market, we never really used WhatsApp that
Correct.
much,
Yep.
right? I think we've got about a 10% penetration for WhatsApp. It's growing. Don't get me wrong. It's still growing in this market. But compare that to, like, say, Spain. Everybody uses WhatsApp.
Yes, yep.
Or even now Mexico.
South America.
Brazil, everybody's
yep.
using WhatsApp as a P2P, but they're still using SMS as an A2P channel.
Correct.
Right.
What happened? Why did WhatsApp and Line and all these companies take off in all these other countries, and it hasn't taken off, or OTT has not taken off in the United States? Like, was there a billing?
It had a lot to do with pricing.
Okay.
For the longest time, WhatsApp was free, and then
Yes.
it was like $1 a year or something like that. And there was no advertising. Their model was very simple. I'm going to give you a platform to send personal traffic from one to another. Since Facebook bought it, they had to find a way to monetize it. Right. So they're slowly moving it in as an enterprise channel. I mean, there's WhatsApp Business, where a business can own a WhatsApp number, and a lot of people use that today. A lot of businesses use that. It's running the risk of losing a lot of what it has. You've noticed maybe that WhatsApp doesn't grow as much as it used to.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's kind of stuck between 1.5 to 1.67 billion monthly active users, and it's just not growing anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of topped out, and it may even decline a little bit.
In those other countries, do the consumers pay for messaging? Like, what made them look for a free app? Because in the United States, we don't need a free messaging app because we don't pay for SMS.
Well, we do. We
consumers.
Right. We typically have these big bundle solutions, and those were late coming to other countries.
Okay, so it was more of a, for us, I remember back in the day, you'd pay for, X amount of messages, but then it went very unlimited very quickly.
And that has helped SMS in this market.
Okay.
Or operator-based messaging.
In other countries, it took a lot longer. Right. So once mobile phone usage and messaging got more popular, they were looking for a solution quickly.
SMS peaked. I can tell you exactly when it peaked, October 2011.
Okay.
Because from that point on, it was heavily cannibalized, not by WhatsApp and such in the early days, but by iMessage.
Oh, yes. Okay.
iMessage was the first fully non-SMS channel that cannibalized SMS itself.
In the U.S.
In the U.S.
Specifically, yeah.
Specifically. It did, and it hit about 20-25%. Now, the U.S. SMS person-to-person market is on a very, very slow decline. It's almost stable, declines a little, sometimes it goes up, but it's relatively stable where it is now.
Because consumers really don't, I think the only thing they're looking for is maybe a little more functionality, which is RCS.
Yes.
They're not looking for functionality plus free plus, we don't need all that stuff, and that's why all these countries went to these over-the-top providers.
Right. You look at WeChat in China. It was made specifically for the China market.
Yeah.
And it's a whole ecosystem. I mean,
Yeah.
you buy things, you can pay, there are stickers and things that people in those markets like. Same with like Kakao Talk in Korea. It's a complete ecosystem. Line, which really took off in Japan. But RCS is actually making good inroads in Japan now.
Yeah.
I mean, it has a lot of the capabilities of these closed ecosystems. Think of them as little walled gardens.
Yep.
They may be big walled gardens like WhatsApp.
Or iMessage.
Or even iMessage, right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's super interesting. Last question on pricing. There's a bunch of different players in the ecosystem, I guess. There's companies like Tatango, which were really end user brand focused.
Right.
You guys are hubs. Then there's the carriers. Where do you think pricing is going to shake out? Maybe just in the United States for RCS. I know there's been a lot of talk about a direct model where it's just one message costs this, and then you have a conversational model.
Right.
Let's say let's do two questions. One is, where do you think it's going to go? And then, where should it go? Or if those are the same.
I think where it's going to go and where it should go are going to be kind of the same.
Okay.
I believe there will be a per message pricing. A lot of messaging is one way. I'm going to send you a notification.
2FA marketing.
Yep. That's not going to change.
Okay.
Even if you go to RCS, now you'll have fancier versions of that.
Yes.
Right? For example, a 2FA message might consist, today it'll consist of a text message with a code. You have to go back and enter the code. In RCS, it'll be a message that I have confirm, deny, accept, deny, whatever.
Yeah,
something
buttons, because you have
buttons, right?
Clickable buttons.
Still just one message.
Yep.
So one message, one price per message.
Do you think in the United States, we were talking to Nick Lane earlier, he was saying small businesses, most of the time they just see RCS as another message, therefore it should be billed the same as the current SMS.
Right.
The standard, the plain text version. And then he was saying that essentially brands will be able to add on things to the base.
I like Nick's idea of pricing. Okay. I've heard his before, and it's very good. Yes, there will be some of that per message, and then at some point you transition to what we call sessions-based or conversational-based, and now you have more of an unlimited type of messages between the two entities, the consumer and the business, at a specific price for a specific either period of time or amount of data. So
it's open for 24 hours, message back and forth.
Right. And then it'll be a price per session or per conversation. And some business models, that works beautifully. Others, not so much. But there should be a transition between, and that's kind of what everybody's trying to do, is to come up with their own plan of pricing. Because at the back end, we still have to pay the operators who are going to charge us. If I'm a hub or an aggregator, the operators are going to charge us probably based on either individual messaging or sessions or both.
Yep.
And then now we've got to translate that to what we charge our brands and enterprises, right? But I still believe it should probably be a combination of per message and per session. Those are going to be the predominant business models.
And I know you have a lot of insight in the industry, you've been in the industry for like 20 plus years. Why has it, and I think a lot of people watching this video, a lot of brands, why can this group, carriers, GSMA, everybody involved, why can't we come up with a price quickly and just get it done?
So it's an open market. It is
not the company open market.
No, not the company open market.
I was like, oh, you're throwing them under the bus.
No. It's a free market.
Okay.
It's a free market. Businesses are going to want to pay something. Carriers are going to want, this is how they're going to monetize this. They're not going to charge their subscribers anymore for SMS or RCS that they do for SMS. It's still going to be part of their messaging plan, right? That's not going to change. Yep. To the consumer, a message is a message, whether it's an MMS, an SMS,
they don't care.
Or an RCS message. Yep. They don't care. So that's still part of their messaging plan. Nothing will change for the consumers. What will change is what the carriers charge the businesses, and that will typically flow through messaging aggregators.
Yep.
Yes, some carriers will
try to do direct or
go direct, but the problem is that of scale. Because a business wants to reach all consumers in a market, and there are multiple carriers.
Correct.
So carriers doing direct to business is tough for them to do. Now, there are some other agreements that they may have with other carriers, but that's typically not done. And at least in SMS. With RCS, I think it'll be the same way. So how we're going to get to this point is, it's free market economics, honestly.
Now, you know a lot of these executives, at the carrier level. What are they thinking about right now in terms of why haven't they released a price?
A few have.
Okay.
And there are more of those that have are kind of trial prices.
Okay.
I had one carrier release some pricing earlier in the year, and then mid-year they completely changed it.
Do you think that's a fear? We heard earlier that no one wants, if it's too high, then it's too high, no one uses it. If it's too low, they might have to raise it. No one wants to kind of put their foot out there and say, I'm going to just set a price.
Right.
Like, maybe put our viewers in the mind of like a wireless carrier. What's going through their mind? Are they thinking that, or are they just like, we're going to wait till other people?
They're absolutely afraid of that. Yes.
Okay.
They're afraid they're going to set it too low.
Okay.
And they're not going to be able to recoup their investment.
Okay.
Or they're going to set it too high, and they're going to get a lot of pushback from brands and aggregators like ourselves.
Yeah.
That are saying, this is too high. We can't sell this, and we certainly can't make money at it. Because we all obviously have to add a little margin to that as well.
Exactly.
To be able to offer that. Now, all the aggregators and messaging providers out there, we all have our different ways of adding value to the chain, whether it's through chatbots or add-on features and capabilities that we can do. That's certainly part of our business plan. What can we do to help our brands and enterprises quickly immerse themselves into this new ecosystem, especially once you have gold markets where all of the carriers are supporting A2P RCS.
So do you think major carriers, maybe in the United States, it's going to be a tipping point once you see one roll out or a couple roll out, it's going to be more and more pricing discussed? Because they can't discuss pricing.
No, I mean,
they're kind of waiting for other people to kind of show their hand and then maybe follow them, or at least learn from their mistakes.
Right. Well, here's something to consider. Google is a major part. They provide RCS for several carriers, both in the United States and around the world. Whatever Google will set will probably kind of have the other carriers follow.
So that gives a little bit of a signal to them.
That would be right. That would be the signal or the catalyst. Okay, here's what Google's going to charge, because Google's got to make money doing this eventually too. Now, granted, yes, they charge the carriers to provide their RCS solutions on their behalf, right? But at some point, they will start charging launched agents or launched RCS platforms a price. And I bet it will be both event-based or transactional-based and session-based, depending on the use case.
So Google, they put a bunch of resources in, but the fact that they're almost a third party to this transaction, they can put out their own pricing, which then maybe will impact or allow the other carriers to roll out their pricing and just kind of match it.
Exactly.
Without one of them making the decision and then going out first, and and then everybody it's either too low or too high.
Right.
It's very hard to meet in the middle there.
Exactly.
Awesome. What's last question? What's next 5 years for you? What are you doing? Are you writing a book? I know you do a ton of speaking.
Right.
What's next?
I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing, I hope. I want to see RCS to its full fruition. I believe that SAP will play a major role in the overall ecosystem with RCS. I want to bring that. Part of my job is to bring RCS to a full product, a full sellable product with a SAP Digital Interconnect. I want to see that through. That's going to take a while. As you can imagine, there's a lot to do. I mean, we've been in SMS for almost 20 years, and we have a enormous ecosystem around the world, around data centers around the world. I want to see RCS come to that same level, and I want to see that through. I will continue to evangelize and talk about RCS and other messaging channels, omni-channel, communications platforms as a service, which we all are essentially, or a CPaaS. I want to see that come to full fruition. We have a number of other products that we're bringing to market. There's a lot of things going on with IoT. IoT and RCS, I think, work very well together. There's not been a lot about that. And I want to see that come to fruition. So a lot of work remains in the next 5 years. I would take it beyond that, to be honest with you. I'll still be writing. I'll still be speaking. You ask about a book. I certainly could write a book.
That sounds like a yes.
I've had a lot of experiences and played a lot of fun roles in this industry over the last 20 years. So a book is certainly not out of the question.
Yeah, you actually recommended a book. What's the book name?
It's called The Text Messaging Journey by Eduardo Brazao.
Okay.
It's out on Amazon now.
Is it a good way to kind of go way back and learn the whole history?
Yes, it is. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. It's a great history. It's kind of it's a journey for non-technical souls.
Okay, that might be good for me and everybody else.
It's a great book. I recommend Eduardo's book quite a bit.
Okay, perfect. On Amazon or something?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. If I wrote a book, it would be somewhat similar to Eduardo's, but maybe a little bit different take on it, a little bit more personal experience, and because I have had the opportunity to, work with some companies in their infancy that are well known today. I'm not going to name them, but
well, in the book you can.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Awesome, Bill. Thank you very much. That was awesome.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
To hear all your 20 years of experience in messaging.
Almost.
That's
not quite.
Almost. Yeah, you'll be there soon.
Oh yeah.
Again, my name is Derek Johnson with Tatango.com. We are at Mobile World Congress 2019 in LA. Thanks everyone for tuning in.